All right, boys. Week 6. Here we come. This is the Fantasy Blueprint. I'm joined by Gabe and Cole, Wagner Brothers. Let's just dive straight into it. All right, we got a lot to catch up on. Week 5, let's just dive straight. Studs and duds. Cole, I think you and I need to go first on our duds here for a second. Deshaun Watson. I don't know what we were thinking. I need to apologize to our audience of 5 people. That was bad. Absolutely terrible. Cole, I'm going to pass it to you because I'm speechless on why I decided to go with Deshaun Watson.
Well, saw a stat today. Actually, I just saw a stat about 5 minutes ago. His QBR was 8.6 this weekend.
Is that good? Is that good or bad?
I'm pretty sure that's like the first time I've ever seen a QBR in the single digits.
Yeah, that's bad.
For those that don't understand, a good QBR is like in the 140s, 150s. 156 is perfect, I believe. He had an 8. So.
Yeah, sorry. That was bad. But there were some positives. There were some positives. Cole, did you have any studs from week 5?
No. No.
Gabe, I know you had some.
No, you did have one stud.
Chuba Hubbard was like.
Chuba Hubbard was a stud. He performed. He outperformed his projection. He was a stud.
Yeah, he was solid.
I just want to say something. I want to get something off my chest here. So, the ongoing thing with our family is that I know more about sports than Gabe, and my grandfather will attest to that. He'll say the same thing. He tells Gabe every time he calls him. From the time I've been following this podcast, I've never seen letter grades on players ever. All of a sudden, when I do my first week with bad projections, all of a sudden I'm getting videos of me getting F letter grades out of nowhere on social media. So I think I'm being sabotaged. I think this is a trap. I think that's the only reason you have me on here now.
I think the only reason that Pawpaw doesn't think that I know as much as you is because I don't ever really talk about it that much with Pawpaw. But honestly, I think I know more, but that's just me. You know, it is what it is. We both know a lot. I think it's pretty even when it comes to our sports knowledge. But hey, I mean, you picked Deshaun Watson, you got to live with the grade. I mean, you tried to rode that man, and you failed.
If he would have went off, you know, we'd be having a different conversation right now. I'd look like a genius.
Britton picked Daniel Jones, and it paid off. But
it did pay off.
He could have got the first one. But look, no need to worry about the past. Move forward. I'm confident that you'll respond appropriately this week with better picks.
We'll see. All right, Cole. Not Cole. Gabe. You had quite a few studs in your core 4 from last week. Go ahead and showboat. Take a lap. What you got?
I'm not gonna take a lap because it could be humbled this week for sure. So we're not gonna go too hard. But I am very proud of my Tyrone Tracy pick at the Giants. 4,300 had
Great
17 points. That equivalates. It's equivalent to about 6,500 salary points. So he really outperformed his 4,300. Trey Sermon, me and Britton both had him. Colby Parkinson with the Rams.
Yeah,
he could have had a huge day. He had 7 catches for like 52 yards, had 13 targets. So he could have really scored big, but he ended up only getting about 12 points, which is projection. Keon Coleman, same thing. He only had 11 points. He met his projection, but he didn't outscore it. But he caught a touchdown. I thought maybe that would kind of give him some momentum to keep going, but he kind of fizzled out there. So I only had one real true stud, Tyrone Tracy. The other 3 were kind of just mid. They met their salary projections. They did their job.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. I only had one good one, or one stud, DeAndre Swift. Everybody else was mid or terrible in the case of Deshaun Watson. So not a great week for me either. But Gabe, thanks for holding us down, keeping us straight on the straight path here.
Hold on. Hold on.
Go ahead.
Sorry, Brent. Your F wasn't on Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson was like a D-, Cole. Your F was on DK Metcalf. DK Metcalf got you the F because he had like 7 points, and his salary was like 23, or his salary was like somewhere around the projection of 20 plus points. So the F was on DK, which not a bad pick. You're not gonna get any flack on picking DK Metcalf. It just didn't work out. But you will get some flack on Deshaun Watson because he's been bad all year. But hey.
It's all right.
Okay, sorry, Brett.
At least you're not alone, Cole. I was with you on that one too. All right, but here's the reality: is we're 5 weeks through the season, right? We've seen a lot, learned a lot. Kind of as we're looking to the future, is there any observations that have stuck out to you? Anything that's been kind of eye-opening these first couple weeks in fantasy, daily fantasy? Either one of you.
I can start. Tight ends have been kind of just mid. The salary points are kind of expensive, and none of them are really produced consistently. Yeah. They've had some good weeks, but I think maybe we'll see a little bit more leveling out as the season goes on. Had some injuries, like Evan Ingram was out for a while, and Njoku has been out for a while. Kelsey is starting to kind of come around. He's kind of getting close to off the no touchy list just because of his volume. He's getting a lot more work. That's one thing I've noticed. And then there's a couple running backs that I'm hoping will have better seasons. They kind of struggled a little bit in terms of like what they were priced at. We'll talk about it a little bit more. Bijan Robinson's got a really good matchup this week. He's a top 5 pick in fantasy football season long. He's one of the cheaper running backs this week in terms of like your high upper end guys, and he's playing the Panthers. So I'm hoping maybe Josh Jacobs, Bijan, some of those running backs that were drafted higher in fantasy could kind of come along. Same with Rashad White. He's kind of losing some of his work to the backup, but receivers and quarterbacks kind of what we expected. But I'd say some of those higher priced running backs we gotta get them some more production on the tight ends. The upper price tight ends need to get some more production.
So yeah,
Cole, you got anything?
Yeah, for me this season, I mean, for weeks 1, 2, and 3, you might as well just focus more heavily on running backs. The passing numbers were down significantly the first 3 weeks. I don't know if y'all listened to Dan Patrick or anything like that, but they had a huge discussion. They had a huge discussion on why the beginning of the season has started off so slow, and it's because everybody's taking off these preseason games. So it takes a couple weeks to really get going. So you really want to focus at the beginning of the year next year. If it continues to happen, go heavy on running backs. That's one thing I learned.
Good point. That's a good point.
I like that a lot. The things I wrote down is tight end's a crapshoot and the NFL's rigged. Here's case in point. NFL is rigged. How about Joe Buck showing so much love to Kaylan Sanders' brother, however you say his name, and then on the exact play, the backup dancer's brother of Taylor Swift picks it off. NFL is rigged. So tight ends are crapshoots. NFL is rigged. Those are my observations so far through week 5. Oh man!
I'm not gonna confirm or deny whether or not I believe you. I do.
Yeah, I don't even know how I guessed that play whenever it happened. Gabe was like, "Oh, it's intercepted by a defensive lineman." I was like, "Let me guess, it was Kaylan Saunders," and he was like, "Yeah, it was." I was like, "Well,
yeah. Of course, rigged."
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I digress. It has been. I agree with you, Gabe. Though tight ends has been an absolute crapshoot. Some are starting to form, kind of get into mid-season form, starting to come around a little bit. But it's been tough out there in the streets for tight ends right now. So just kind of a couple observations. But kind of as we're moving into week 6, right? We're kind of focusing on values here. Another kind of iffy week. A lot of questionables. A lot of opportunities, I think, to find value like you did last week with the running back for the Giants, Gabe. This week, and we'll start with you, Gabe, values that you see out there for week 6.
Values I see in week 6. So let's start at the quarterback position before we move on.
Okay.
Spencer Rattler at 4,000 this week at the start. You do not get the opportunity to start a starting quarterback in the NFL and daily fantasy at that price. And one, he's a rookie. And if you remember last year, Will Levis's first start of the season, he had 4 touchdown passes, and he was at 4,000. I mean, you'll be kicking yourself if you don't start him at that price against one of the worst secondaries in the league with Olave, Kamara, Shaheed, Juwan Johnson with a good offensive line and good weapons. and he kind of played really well in the preseason with some of the backups against some of those second-string defenses. The way I look at that too is if they get down early to the Bucks and they're down 21, and he has 3/4 of garbage time just to sling the ball around, it doesn't matter. That's what you want first fantasy. You don't care if they win the game or not. What you want is him getting the ball out and getting points. So there's really no better situation than for them to get. They're not going to pull him, I don't feel like, late in that game, because if they're not going to be worried about an injury. So he'll probably have 4/4 just to sling that ball around, especially if they get down early.
Yeah.
Joe Burrow had the game of all games last week. He's around the same salary price again against the Giants. All his receivers and weapons are healthy, so I like Burrow. Daniel Jones against Cincinnati. Both those quarterbacks could be a shootout. So I'm actually going with you, Britton. I think Daniel Jones, if Neighbors does come back, he's kind of shown he can be productive with Neighbors and Wan'Dale Robinson. So I kind of like Daniel Jones now a little bit. And then also Kirk Cousins coming off another game of his life, literally, with 509 yards. I mean, best game he's probably ever had. He's at 6,200 against the Panthers. Could be the Bijan game, but we'll see. He's got some good weapons. It could be Kirk Cousins. That's my 4 quarterbacks I've kind of zoned in on heading into Week 6.
I like it. You want to go ahead? We'll just capitalize on quarterbacks real quick. Cole, do you have a quarterback that you see value this week? I know that you're a Saints guy, so Spencer Rattler's probably top of your list. But what else you got?
I've got Rattler. Definitely is my number one guy. I've seen him in preseason. He's got talent, but he's also young, and he can also make some bad decisions. So it's going to be a crapshoot. Kind of make myself stand out a little bit here. This is going to be a terrible pick, and nobody's going to like it. Drake May's getting his first start.
I don't hate it. I'll say this. Drake May has some rushing ability, too, which you don't really talk about. He's not just a pocket passer. He's pretty athletic. So I think he'll probably surprise a lot of people with his ability to get out of the pocket and maybe make some plays. So I think he had a rushing touchdown or 2 in the preseason as well. So you get that added ability that I don't think a lot of people are expecting at 5,000.
Also, I think Aiden O'Connell's getting the start for Las Vegas this week.
Yeah, he's a no-touchy for me.
But that's against Pittsburgh, so that's a very risky pick, 4,900. But it's going to start.
And to add to that, too, for the Las Vegas side of things, it looks like Jacoby Myers hasn't practiced at all this week with an ankle injury, so they might be down their 2 best receivers. So I think either Minshew or O'Connell, depending on who plays, is no-touchy. Well, we'll get into that later, but it's probably going to be a no-touchy for me. Might have gave a little foreshadowing there, but so here's my QB that I've circled this week, and this could be another Deshaun Watson situation for me, but I'm going out on a limb, throwing my flag down here. I'm going with Will Levis, 4,800 against the Colts. Terrible defense. And I think. So one of the things that's interesting, and I was listening to the Fantasy Footballers podcast, pace of play. Indianapolis is top 3 in pace of play. So, it's going to be a quicker game. I think that this is going to allow – they could get down, kind of like Gabe said about Rattler. I think Levis and the Titans could get down early and have to sling it around a little bit. I like Levis at 4,800. You don't see a lot of quarterbacks under 5,000 ever. So this is kind of one of those moments where, hey, if Levis plays, I know he's banged up a little bit, but if he plays at 4,800, that's kind of where I'm leaning. I think it's a risky pick because he's bound to do something stupid. He's done something stupid in every game. But as long as he gets enough touchdowns, enough production, maybe it can erase some of the negative that we know is coming from Levis.
The problem with him has never really been his weapons and his arm talent. So I kind of like 4,800, honestly, against the Colts. And I think that game's at home, too.
It is.
I don't know. Maybe it's like one of those games where he watched Mason Rudolph get in. Maybe he got a little nervous because Rudolph ended up showing he could do some things better than he was. Maybe he comes in there with a fire under him and he takes some chances and makes some good throws. I think that may have, calmed it down a little bit with some of his bad decisions. Hopefully that he saw that, wow, this guy can actually run the offense and we can win without having to do some crazy stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's got good weapons too. I mean, with Ridley and Hopkins and Pollard. So.
Yeah, and I'm also with you guys on Rattler. I mean, 4,000 is just is a little too tasty not to make a lineup with him at some point in it. Like you said, Gabe, you rarely get quarterbacks that are that cheap. So why not take it on one of your lineups and just take a shot and see what happens? But let's move on to running backs. And Gabe, you've hit on it a little bit already, but running back value for week 6, what do you see out there?
Well, like I said, Bijan Robinson at 6,600 is somewhere around like 18 and 19 points. He hasn't really had that game where he's, broke the slate, had 30 or 40 points. But he really didn't have that good matchup either with some defenses. So I'm hoping maybe the schedule turns over and he gets some better matchups. I think this might start it. Mm-hmm. This could be the game where Kirk Cousins just hands the ball off 30 times to Bijan and he has 200 yards. So it's kind of what I'm expecting. I mean, Bijan's been somewhere around 7,500, upper 7,000s pretty much the entire season. He's kind of been surviving with his pass catching. And I'm hoping that maybe this week they can get him some of that rushing volume and he can score a couple of touchdowns. Yep. Some of the injuries I wanted to highlight, Ramondre Stevenson has not played this week.
Yeah,
or not practiced
this week. All week.
Yeah, so you get Antonio Gibson, who's a true 3-down back. That's what he was when he was at Washington before Brian Robinson got there. So you get some good pass catching value there. Mm-hmm. And then Rashad White hasn't practiced. So then Bucky Irving at Tampa, you have him there too. If he could get all the volume there, that's what I kind of try to go around the volume with my running backs, and those two with injuries kind of stick out to me. But Bijan's going to be one of my main cornerstones for my lineups this week with that good matchup. I like it a lot.
Yeah, I like that. Cole, you got anything running back wise?
Running back wise, I'm going Tony Pollard this week. He's sitting at 6,000 salary. Rushing yards allowed per game for Indianapolis, they're ranked 31st. And they're ranked 29th in passing yards allowed per game. So I think this could be a big game, both receiving and running for Tony Pollard. I also have Josh Jacobs at 6,700. He's going up against the Cardinals. They've got the 24th ranked defense against running backs. So I think those two are good plays. And there was one more guy I was looking at here, which is kind of risky. But Damian Pierce, he's coming back this week. Joe Mixon is probably going to be out. If he is good to go, he'll slide in first, starting running back for the Texans. Only possible downside is you got two other running backs behind him that have been scoring touchdowns the last 2 weeks. So
Agumbawale played last week for Houston way more than Cam Akers. Cam Akers got saved by another touchdown, but Agumbawale was actually playing a lot more. What about what's Damian Pierce's salary, Cole? What's his? Do you know?
Yeah, Damian Pierce is going for it's actually pretty low, 4,900.
Yeah, so that's good. A really good value there for him if he's starting. I'm surprised Joe Mixon's not coming back, but.
From what I've heard, he is questionable. Okay, he was a limited participant, so he might be back. If he is back, then don't take Damian Pierce.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was gonna say if he's not back this week, they should just put him on IR because this
will
be his third straight week.
Yeah, he practiced. He practiced today for the first time since week 2. So.
I like it. I'm actually kind of in the same boat as you, Gabe. I had highlighted Bijan Robinson at 6,600. He's bound to get in the end zone. I feel like it's coming at some point, and then his ability to catch the ball. I mean, this is the first time he's dipped since under 7,000, like you said already. And then I also had Antonio Gibson. If Stevenson can't go, he can catch the ball. That might be a good safety outlet for Drake May, who's getting his first start. A couple of check downs, get him in the game early, some screen passes. So I like Antonio Gibson a lot at 5,300. I feel like that could be a really good play if Stevenson truly is out. But moving on from running backs, tight ends. Do you see any value out there at tight ends? We've already highlighted a little bit in season long so far. Observations, tight ends has been an absolute crapshoot. So is there any value that you see out there for week 6?
Yeah, tight ends. Like I said earlier, I've been, some of those higher priced tight ends I've tried to stay away from. I think the only one this week that I really had any confidence in would be Trey McBride. For the Cardinals. He had a decent game last week, I think, with 8 targets, and Kyler Murray played really well against San Francisco, surprisingly. I kind of was staying away from him, but he had a rushing touchdown, I think 1 or 2 passing touchdowns. And with Marvin Harrison there, drawing a bunch of coverage, Trey McBride's kind of in his safety blanket. And
Yeah.
hopefully this, after the first few weeks, maybe the passing game will kind of open up, like you said, for some of these teams, and the tight ends will start getting the ball more. So Trey McBride, and then Kyle Pitts for Atlanta, 4,400. He got involved a lot more last week with Kirk Cousins. So you have to you got to take the good with the bad with him in a matchup like this. It could be one of those picks where they run the ball, like I said, 40 to 50 times, and Kirk Cousins doesn't really get the ball out. So I'm kind of staying away from Kyle Pitts. I'm going to go towards a game that has a lot more passing in it if I'm going to pick my tight end. This pick is going to surprise you, but for the Carolina Panthers, the guy that was Tommy Tremble is on the IR, I think, with a concussion, or he's going to be out this week. Ian Thomas, who's been their starting tight end for the last 2 to 3 weeks, is coming off the IR, was a full participant on Wednesday and limited today. If Ian Thomas comes back, he should immediately jump into the starting tight end position at 2,500. And, I mean,
2,500, that's awesome.
Yeah. So I think Ian Thomas is a good play if he practices. They have another guy there they drafted like the 5th round, Jatavion Sanders, who had 5 targets when Trimble left the game last week. So it's going to depend upon how quickly they want to put Ian Thomas back in after coming off the IR with that guy that just had decent production last week. So and then I got a surprise for you. They just reverted Jordan Matthews off the practice squad, who is a converted tight end now, to the Panthers. So it's almost like you got to follow that news. Jordan Matthews, Vandy receiver, played at the Eagles for a while.
Yeah.
No way, dude. He's still around?
He's still around.
He's making it, man. He's trying to make it.
Yeah.
Wow. I did not
So
realize
I'm going to track that news in the tight end room at the Panthers. It could very well be a committee tight end room there.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, I'll stay away from him. But they really liked Ian Thomas last year. Like I said, he played every game, and he's kind of a freak athlete. I watched him play one of the weeks last year against the Titans here, and Ian Thomas was catching passes like crazy. I mean, he's a terrible matchup for linebackers and safeties because of his size and speed. He's a good tight end. He just kind of slept on because he's at Carolina. So
yeah.
We'll
passing to you, what you got?
Yeah.
I've got Cade Otton against the New Orleans Saints. Saints are the 31st ranked defense against tight ends. I've watched them for 27 years of my life. They can't guard Cade Otton to save their lives. It happens every week. The problem is they can guard Mike Evans, but can't guard the slow, unathletic white guy. So I'm expecting.
Whoa, unathletic is a hot take.
I'm expecting Cade Otton to have. He's had 3 good weeks for tight end standards, I guess you could say. He had 10 points in week 3, 11 points in week 4, and then 7 points in week 5.
Yeah.
So those are all against 3 semi-decent defenses: Denver, Philly, and Atlanta. So I'm going with Cade Otton this week at tight end.
What's his? Do you know what his salary is off the top of your head?
3,500.
3,500. I like it. The 2 tight ends I have circled is Zach Ertz at 3,700. He didn't capitalize on his targets, but he did have 8 targets last week. I expect that trend to continue. Daniels is slinging that thing around. So at 3,700, if the volume continues in that direction, I could see that being a very solid pick with a lot of value. And then the second one, the highest tight end on the board, 6,000, Brock Bowers. I don't typically, what I've learned this year, stay away from high-priced tight ends because they're going to let you down. Dalton Kincaid, RIP, been killing me all season long. But if Brock Bowers, if Myers is unhealthy, Adams is out, I mean, they've got to throw it to somebody. So I like Bowers at 6,000. They got to give somebody the ball. So if he's the only one that's healthy and on the field, I like Bowers at 6,000. Again, it's a stretch because it's the highest rated or the highest priced tight end this week. So it just kind of depends on where all the health for the Vegas Raiders, how it all plays out. So
who do they play?
If you want,
Denver?
They played Denver.
Denver.
No, they played Denver last week. They actually have, let me check real quick because I can't remember off the top of my head. They play, Las Vegas Raiders play the Steelers, which pretty good defense. So that is a little bit of a gamble. But again, if he's the only one healthy, they got to throw it to somebody. So kind of a reach, but could see some value coming out of that pick as well. And then finally, to kind of close out the value section here, wide receivers. Where do you guys maybe list a couple of your values? Gabe, you go first.
All right, yeah. So Flacco, I'm thinking is going to start again this week. Last week, Michael Pittman was one of the guys I tried to build a lot of my lineups around, and I think I know why he didn't score or get many points after he caught that touchdown. He is doubtful with a back injury this week and expected to miss multiple weeks. So he must have got hurt during that game, and they just didn't take him out, let him kind of fight through it, because I was shocked that he didn't get more targets as that game went on, because they were down a lot of that game. And also Josh Downs. He is questionable with a toe injury. He's missed practice, I think, 2 or 3 days in a row now. So your only healthy receivers there are Alec Pierce and Adonai Mitchell. And Alec Pierce is an interesting guy to think about because he's a deep threat. He doesn't really get that heavy volume because he plays primarily on the outside. So Adonai Mitchell is my guy that I'm going to be focusing on if both those guys miss it. He's 3,900. He's a rookie, and he's from Georgia. We don't care nothing about the Dogs, but for fantasy purposes, I like Adonai Mitchell in this matchup at 3,900. And then my other two with Houston, with Nico Collins out, you got a choice between Stephon Diggs and Tank Dell. I think both their values shot up significantly with no Nico Collins. Yeah. They're very similarly priced. Stephon Diggs, 7,400. Tank Dell, 6,300. So only 1,000 difference in salary, but that equates pretty close to the same projection. It's going to depend on how New England attacks that game, whether or not they're going to try and take Diggs away and make Dell beat him, or maybe they'll shade some over the top so Dell can't get loose and maybe just try and guard Stephon Diggs close to the line of scrimmage with Christian Gonzalez one-on-one and try to do it that way. New England does a good job of limiting number one receivers, but if I had to choose one, I always try and pick the guy that's got a history of production. And I would take Diggs in that matchup. That's my two.
All right, Cole, what you got receivers value?
Yeah, I've got Tank Dell way up there on my list of 6,200. I feel like he can really make a lineup as the number two receiver and really get a lot of points. Really just set it off. Another guy that I have chose for this week, and it's going to come back to bite me as soon as I say it. I know it will, but it's a good stack for you with Will Levis. Calvin Ridley.
I love it.
Calvin Ridley is a guy that I think is gonna have to break out here eventually, and no better time to do it but against the Colts, who rank 29th in pass yards allowed per game. So those are my two guys that I think have a good chance of going off.
So I went cheap on receivers here just to kind of try to see if we could dig some value out deep in the trenches here. I've got Ray McCloud at 4,200. The reason being he's had 11.6 and 12.6 points the last 2 weeks and sitting at 4,200. That's about 3 times your salary, or pretty close to. So if the Atlanta Falcons continue to pass at this rate, I know I'm kind of going back on what I said about Bijan, but if they continue to pass at a high rate like this, I think there's value for all Atlanta receivers, but especially at 4,200, I like Ray McCloud. And then the other guy that I highlighted was Trey Tucker for the Las Vegas Raiders. If Myers is out this week, which he hasn't practiced all week. Again, we're filming this on late Thursday night, but if for whatever reason Myers can't go, Trey Tucker was next in line. He had 5 targets last week, and he's sitting at low 4,000 salary as well. So kind of take that with a grain of salt because the quarterback situation in Vegas is poor at best, to be honest. So those are kind of where I try to find some lower end guys to see if we can find some value there. So that's kind of what I had highlighted at receiver for this week. But let's kind of dive into our core four, kind of what we build our lineups around all weekend long, right? And Gabe, I'm going to pass this off to you because your core four has outperformed us many a times already. So give us your core four for week 6.
Cole doesn't like it whenever you give me compliments, Britton. So
Cole's only been with us for 1 week. This is week 2, so you got.
It's not
Cole,
hard.
let me rephrase what I said. Gabe's been kicking my butt in core 4 for the last 5 weeks. He's only kicked your butt 1 week. So
well, it's not fair. Here's how he's rigging the system. He's picking like 3,000 salary guys that project to score like 5 points. Like they're not
that's not true. That's not true. Tyrone Tracy was projected 12 points and he got 17. Like it's not, and he was one of the cheapest player I had, man. It's just if you take a chance on a cheaper guy, I mean, he's getting a ton of volume. You got to identify values for your core four. Your core four, you can't just shoot for the stars with your high priced guys. You're saying I need 24 points from these guys. You're asking a lot for a core four guy to take all your salary up. Your core four is built around value. They're supposed to be your cornerstone of your lineup that you can build around that have a high percentage of producing while also maximizing your salary. So it's you if you're confident in somebody with a really high salary point, then put them in your core four. But that takes a lot of your salary away, and if they don't produce, it tanks your lineup.
I did. I put
DK
DK
Metcalf
in. I did. I put DK in there.
Case in point,
DK
right there.
Hiroshima
Yeah.
Metcalf.
You gotta watch Gabe, man. He'll be like, my core four is Jordan Matthews at 1,000 salary. Victor scored 2 points.
Boys, I think the San Francisco 49ers might be choking this game away again, too. Kenneth
They
Walker,
might be.
touchdown, another one.
Yeah.
So 23-17, San Francisco as we're watching live. But go back to your core four, Gabe. Sorry.
All right, so for Cole, here we go. My core four, Adonai Mitchell, 3,900. That's around 12-ish points. If Josh Downs and Michael Pittman are out, somebody has to catch the ball there. So why would you not build around somebody cheap like that? It's going to get volume. Bijan Robinson, 6,600. I like that
It's a higher
against
one.
the Carolina Panthers. It's a higher one, and he's got, it's like I said, value, mix and match, volume, while also production. It's the next two are actually Spencer Rattler. He's one of my core fours. I'm taking him at 4,000.
Yep.
My last one is significantly dependent upon injuries. If Rashad White or Ramondre Stevenson don't play, one of those guys, I'll have my core four with Bucky Irving or Antonio Gibson, so that could change who I pick. But outside of that, Carolina tight end room, Ian Thomas, Jatavion Sanders, I'm watching that. I'm going to go with Stephon Diggs right now as one of my core four,
Okay.
just because I don't know how that injury situation is going to work out. But once we see how those injuries shape out later this week, my core four may change for my last spot. But Adonai, Bijan, Rattler, and Stephon for right now are my core four.
Cole?
All right, so I'm starting with Spencer Rattler. I got him as one of my core four guys as well. I told myself that I wasn't going to touch him this week. Completely talked myself out of that. I thought about his preseason performance, and I was like, he might be able to do something.
You
Clint
fell in
Kubiak.
love.
Yeah, Clint Kubiak also said today that he's not dumbing anything down for him. He doesn't need to. He's got full trust in him, and he says that he's got the things you can't teach. And typically, when stuff like that's said, they're pretty talented. So we'll see this week. That's one of my guys. Another one's Tony Pollard. I've got him as one of my core four guys. I've got Tank Dell. And my last one is Cade Otton. I'm going to have Cade Otton in every single one of my lineups because I think that's just a really good value play for a tight end that has had multiple good weeks and seems to be on the up and up. So those are my core four guys. I've got Olave starting in some. I think him and Spencer Rattler have been hyping each other up, so I think they're going to have good chemistry. So we'll see this week, but he's not going to be in my core four.
Cole,
I
give me
love
one
this.
more. Give me one more quick recap of your core four. I lost connection on my headphones. It might have messed the recording up for a minute.
All right,
Who were
so
your
I
core
said
four?
Spencer Rattler, number one. Tony Pollard's number two. I believe I said Tank Dell's number three and Cade Otton's number four.
Okay. All right.
This is perfect. Sibling rivalry at its finest right here. Diggs versus Dell. Whose core four is going to play out? Beautiful. Love it. Jumping into my core four. Gabe, I'm with you. My number one core four for this week is Bijan Robinson, sitting at 6,600, I believe. I've got Zach Ertz at 3,700. Talked a little bit about him and value as well. I'm going back to the well here. I'm going Jordan Love at 6,600 against Arizona. I mean, Arizona's let up a ton of points this year, and I continue to see Jordan Love perform at a decent level. He didn't do great last week, but he did enough to win the game, which doesn't matter in daily fantasy. Obviously, I know that. I'm talking in circles here, but big Jordan Love guy. And then my last one, I've actually got Jalen Tolbert at 5,000. I like, and I should have talked a little bit about him in value here, but got more targets last week than CD Lamb. Obviously, teams are trying to shut him down, opens up the door in a pass-heavy offense for Tolbert. and at 5,000 salary, I could see him matching or exceeding what he did last week. So give me Tolbert in my core four. So just as a recap, I've got Bijan Robinson, Zach Ertz, Jordan Love, and Jalen Tolbert in my core four for week 6. And then
Jags.
kind of, what'd you say?
Go Jags. South in your mouth,
baby.
Jalen Tolbert.
Put your J's
Let's
up.
go.
Jay's
I love it. Shirt on point. I love it, baby.
Yeah, baby. Hey, that was a great play. That's somebody I forgot about too that I was looking at is Jalen Tolbert. So that's a good value play too.
I think, yeah, I hopefully it pays off. I've already shot myself in the foot multiple times through 5 weeks, but hopefully I can limp through week 6 and get a little bit of cash going here. Optimal lineups for week 6. Obviously, don't hold us to this optimal lineup because injuries do happen, and we're going to continue to update the TikTok channel. So check out the TikTok channel at the Fantasy Blueprint, and also check out our YouTube channel as we continue to try to update as news breaks. But Gabe, week 6 optimal lineup. What do you have for us?
Yeah, so on Saturday or Sunday morning, I'll post a updated optimal lineup on the TikTok channel. But as of right now, the AI optimal lineup for the 3 running backs got Jalen Hurts at quarterback, Bijan Robinson, Tony Pollard, T. Higgins, Jacoby Myers, who's questionable, Little Jordan Humphrey at Denver, Jake Ferguson, Alvin Kamara, and the Bucs defense. That's your 3 running back lineup. And then for your 4.
Hold on just a second there, Gabe. I'm going to pause you. I think it's pronounced Lil, not Little. Little Jordan Humphrey. So just
my bad.
just a good little laugh for us right there.
Let me correct myself.
Yeah.
All right, your 4 wide receivers: Jalen Hurts, Bijan Robinson, Tony Pollard, Josh Downs, who's also questionable, so that could change. Drake London, Terry McLaurin, Jake Ferguson, and Lil Jordan Humphrey with the Eagles defense.
Way to correct.
Is that a better one? Okay. All right. Next,
and which
2 tight ends.
Hey, real quick, before we go into 2 tight ends, blew my mind last week that this outscored our 3 running backs, 4 receivers by like 20 points. The 2 tight end lineup absolutely crushed.
No, it was like 40. It was like 40. The 2 tight end lineup went off compared to the other 2. It was impressive. Yeah, it was wild. Tucker Kraft, stud. George Kittle, stud. Combined for like almost 50 points.
Also, news on Tucker Kraft. Looks like Musgrave's going to IR, so it may be the Kraft show. So just
he's up now. His salary's up now to like $4,800.
Yeah,
they've caught on.
It's high.
Not the steal of the week anymore. Yeah.
Nope.
And then if you're 2 tight ends, you pretty much have the same lineup with Jalen Hurts, Bijan, Tony Pollard, Josh Downs, Drake London. You got T. Higgins, and then you have Jake Ferguson and Dalton Schultz in your tight end and flex spot with the Buccaneers defense. So that's your 2 tight end lineup for the optimal, the AI saying. But like I said, we'll update you if it changes on the TikTok channel with some of that injury news. So I think it's going to change a lot on Sunday.
Yeah, I think it will too. There's a lot of questionables still out there.
Mm-hmm.
So just be prepared and kind of stay up to date with us as we move forward in the week. But we talked about the AI-generated lineups. Obviously, we get the eye test every week. We get to see, we get the feel. Cole, I'm actually going to start with you here. What is your lineup that you are locking in as of this moment for Week 6?
So my lineup that is locked in, that I have the most faith in, is Spencer Rattler at QB, Josh Jacobs, first running back, Tony Pollard, second, Tank Dell, Chris Godwin, Marvin Harrison Jr., Cade Otton, and Bijan Robinson.
I like it.
What
was your defense on that one? I think I missed it.
Oh, defense? Titans defense against Indianapolis.
Titans defense.
Anthony Richardson is playing. He is expected to be back.
Oh, he is playing?
He is playing.
Oh,
Practice
man.
today.
Okay. That changes everything for Indianapolis.
Yeah. It kind of.
They said
Donnie Mitchell's.
They said he went through practice. They say he went through practice today, and it's expected to start this week. So.
Hey, what's the random question? What's the latest update here on Jonathan Taylor? Is he in or out week 6?
He hadn't practiced. He hadn't practiced yet. So Trey Sermon also didn't practice today with a shoulder and something else. But
who's left? Good Lord.
Trey Goodson is the third string, I think, or Tyler Goodson maybe. He's a rookie out of Iowa, either rookie or a second-year player. He played a little bit with Trey Sermon. He's more of I think, a pass-catching back. Actually, I don't know out of Iowa. He might be a bruiser. We'll see.
Bruiser.
He's
He's sitting,
baby.
just for those listening, he's sitting at 5,400. Goodson is. So just kind of keep that in your back of your mind if nobody can go for the Colts.
Yeah.
All right, Gabe, what you got?
Yeah. All right. Also dependent upon injuries, but right now, Spencer Rattler, QB1. Bucky Irving, I'm expecting Rashad White not to play. Bijan Robinson, Stephon Diggs, CeeDee Lamb, 8,600. Adonai Mitchell, Kyle Pitts, and Josh Jacobs with the Ravens defense. And that's one of the benefits of starting a cheaper quarterback at the minimum is you can fit Stephon Diggs, Bijan, and CeeDee Lamb all into the lineup together. Well, also,
That's
I mean, it's just if you can find those cheap guys, I mean, you're taking a chance on them blowing up, but it frees up so much salary because you can, like I said, I actually have Josh Jacobs in too. So, I mean, I get 4 stud players in the NFL in one lineup together.
Yeah, I like that a lot. My lineup lock that I have the most confidence in this week is Jordan Love, Bijan Robinson, Tony Pollard, Tolbert for the Cowboys, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Terry McLaurin, Zach Ertz, Jake Ferguson, 2 tight end lineup, learned from last week, and the Bucs defense. That's kind of my my starting lineup that I have the most confidence in, but I am going to build a lineup around Will Levis as well, and I'll send y'all a note on that later so you can kind of give me 2 lineups this week. Give me some grace here. I'm just kidding. So we kind of talked about our optimal lineups. Let's move into games that we like for week 6, games that we see could impact fantasy at high scoring, whatever you see that you like. Gabe, I'll start with you first. What do you got? Games that you like for week 6?
I'm going to try to keep it quick so we can try to stay under 45 minutes, but I like the New Orleans-Tampa Bay game just from the value standpoint with Rattler and obviously some of those. But also I really like the Panthers and Atlanta. I think on both sides with the tight end room at Carolina, running back room at the Falcons, and the tight end there. I like both those games.
Cole, what you got?
Yeah, Britton, I think I might take your pick on this one. Hopefully I don't, but I got Arizona and Green Bay. I think it's going to be a lot of scoring. Also, Tampa Bay, New Orleans, they always seem to have a good game, not just from a scoring standpoint, but from entertainment, things like that. I don't know if you guys have seen the last few times New Orleans played, but Mike Evans is non-existent. He's going to be part of my no touchy. So I say that he's probably going to go for 30.
Probably.
But the drama, New Orleans has to get a big win this week, so I'm expecting a lot of offense, a lot of effort to be put into this game for both of these teams because it is a divisional matchup and a rivalry as well.
Yep.
Yeah. I like that. Games I have circled this week, we've already talked about them. I talked about one of them a lot already, is Cardinals versus Green Bay. Don't need to say a whole lot. I think there's going to be a lot of fantasy points to be had there. And then Colts and Titans, big divisional game. I think it's going to be interesting now with Richardson being announced as back. I don't know if that slows the game down because Joe Flacco is kind of gripping and ripping and rolling. So with them being a little bit more run heavy, that game may be a little bit more low scoring than maybe anticipated with Joe Flacco. So interested to see how that one plays out, especially as I've highlighted Will Levis as some value. Got a little more riding on this game. Hopefully, Will Levis turns the corner and does something right for a change. But our favorite segment, no touchy. No touchy. Last week, Cole and I should have no touched Deshaun Watson. Unfortunately, we were all over him. And only
Deshaun Watson did no touching.
Deshaun Watson didn't like no touching.
Yep. That's enough said there.
Oh, man.
Cole, no touchy. We're week 6. What you got?
I said Mike Evans. I'm also going to say CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb is way too high of a salary for me. And the reason I say that is because he hasn't done all that great this year, and neither has Dak Prescott. I mean, let's look at the stats. Let's pull up the stats. He's going for 8,600, and he's had one game above 23 points, fantasy points.
Yeah,
That
that's
just does not.
a good pull.
Yeah, that's not something that I have a lot of faith in, or what I would spend 8,600 on in my lineup. So, him and Mike Evans, just because Mike Evans seems to have a really hard time against Marshawn Lattimore. Marshawn Lattimore thrives against physical, he thrives against bigger receivers. So he's going to get physical with him at the line. It's going to be a hard time for him. So
I like it.
Look at you,
Gabe.
buddy. You're doing some research on CD.
Love it.
You just did that because I have him in my starting lineup, trying to throw some shade. Okay.
no, man, it's just the production's not there for the price, and that's what it's all about, right? It's all about finding value.
Throwing my own words in my face. Welcome to the channel.
Yeah, I'm ready for it to fail, but you got to play the game to win the game, and
That's what I'm talking about.
Well, my no touchy is I'm going no touchy on every single Raiders player. Not touching Brower, not touching Tucker or Zamir White or Madison or Connell. I think Pittsburgh's shown they're a elite defense in the league with Minka and TJ Watt. So I'm out on the Raiders.
Anybody else?
Not really. Just for now, that's pretty much all I got. Now that you say that Anthony Richardson's back, the Colts receivers kind of went down a little bit, but I'm not going no touchy since they're so cheap right now. If Pittman was playing, I'd give him a no touchy label just because of Anthony Richardson.
Yeah,
but he's
that's fair. My no touchy is very similar to yours, Gabe. I think they're going to have to throw to somebody, so I do like Bowers a little bit. He's higher price, so you just have to kind of be careful and hope he catches a touchdown. But I'm definitely not touching either one of the quarterbacks for Vegas. I was on my no-touchy list. And to be honest, I've hit this well twice, but I'm staying away from New England. I know they're inserting a new quarterback, but that offense is just stagnant. I don't want any part of it, so I'm going no-touchy New England receivers as well for Week 6. So hopefully I'm wrong. I hope Drake May does great, but my no touches for this week are Las Vegas quarterbacks, whoever they decide to start, and then receivers for the Patriots. Kind of as we wrap, any other last minute thoughts as we've been walking through this? Anything else you need to share, get off your chest? Now is the time to have your counseling session before we wrap.
Don't give up on Cole yet, guys. I've been living with him my whole life. He knows ball. All right, his picks are going to come back this week, and they're going to do very well. So don't give up on him yet. Geno Smith just threw a pick. Fantastic. My fantasy team is in shambles. That's okay.
I made money the first 4 weeks of the season. Or the first, was it week 5 or week 6? It's week 6 this week, right?
Week 6, yeah.
Yeah, it's week 6.
I made money the first 4 weeks of this season. Got on here one time and made $0.
Welcome to the fantasy blueprint, baby.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Your initiation
I
process
think I
is
jinxed
complete.
myself coming in here and talking football with you guys. But I'm just going to tail all the optimal lineups. I'm going to make a lineup for every single optimal lineup this week, and just if it doesn't hit the money,
See what happens.
yeah.
I love it. Well, I don't have anything other than I'm still really hurt. I'm still suffering this week, Bama. This is not NFL right now, but I just need to RIP. That one hurt. Felt like I watched a dynasty crumble. Tough one.
Yeah.
But we don't need to talk about that. This is the NFL daily fantasy lineup. Just know that if you root against Alabama, you had a great week.
You root against the blueprint.
You root against the blueprint. That's right. That's right. Well, that's it for us in Week 6. Hopefully you guys have some good luck this week. Everything turns out in your favor. Happy hunting, and we'll catch you for Week 7. See you guys.
Bye.
God bless.